Hi everyone. In today's video, we are going to take a look at another automation obstacle problem, which is bubble sort. It's a hard problem. This is particularly an interesting one because most of us might already know about this sorting, and bubble sorting is a popular concept in case of programming. But here also similar logic has been created in which I have a set of numbers which are jumbled up. In this we have to make sure that we have to basically sort it out, so it should come from 1 to 9. Okay, now they have given the logics as well here. Let's sort the number from 1 to 9. Click on swap if the left number is greater than the right number, otherwise you click on next, and it is like this or this, like this or this. Similar way we have to navigate through entire thing and do as many iterations as possible to make it uh, ascending order. Okay, now for that they are saying the blue text field on the bottom left will display keep sorting until the numbers are correctly sorted. So they are giving us the conditional logic as well, which we can use. So this particular button is going to display keep sorting unless the numbers are sorted. Okay, so this is what the problem statement is. Pause the video for a moment, think about the approach, about the solutioning, how you're going to do that, and then take a look at the solution. So first we are going to discuss the approach. We would not jump directly into writing the script so that we understand the logic what we are going to build correctly. Okay, so first thing is, if we have to run in loop or a iteration, right? Now that iteration, how many times we need to run or till when we need to run is done by this particular logic. Okay, so we will write that down. So maybe I'll increase the format here, the size here. So let me just go with 36. Okay, so first thing is keep sorting button is displayed until the numbers are sorted, until the numbers are sorted. Okay, that is the first logic. The second logic they are saying is click on swap if the left number is greater than the right number. Okay, so what we would be doing is we would be first buffering the numbers or saving the numbers. So I can write it like capture both numbers inside the bubble. Okay, and I'll write like we'll keep some buffer names, so I'll write maybe num1 and num2 names for those buffers. Okay, now third thing would be that we have to check the logic. Okay, so first logic is if left number is greater than the right number. Okay, so instead of left number we'll write num1. Okay, if num1 is greater than num2, we are going to click on swap. Okay, and fourth logic is going to be else, or if, again we'll write if num1 is greater than num2, click on next. Okay, now our high level logic is already created, and we'll just take a look into this once more. Okay, so you see what it is saying is if sorry, I have to change the sign here. Okay, if number 1 is greater than number 2, then click on swap. Okay, so you see I'll click on swap. Okay, but what will happen is I have to move this bubble to the next section to do the next comparison. Okay, otherwise it will keep working in this. Okay, otherwise it has to again come to the next action and then click on next. Okay, so we can perform both the operations in one go. Okay, so what we'll do is if we are running into click swap, we will click on next as well. Okay, so we will take that logic. Okay, now you see that whenever we work with bubble sort, like usually in case of programming, everything is stored in form of an array, and what will happen is there'll be different passes which will be working. Okay, so like in one iteration 8 comparisons are going to happen since there are 9 numbers here, and obviously that bigger number is going to move to the right hand side. So in every iteration, every increasing iteration, you will see the largest number getting placed in its appropriate location. So that means in the first pass or the first iteration, 9 is going to come here. In the second pass, 8 is going to come here, 7, 6, 5, like that. Okay. So let's get ahead with scanning, and then we will discuss the logic and the other factors. Okay. So I'll jump to my TOSCA commander. I'll click on application and I'll start scanning the module. Okay. So once this is loaded, we are going to capture our required elements from here. So I'll click on scan and we will click on select on screen and we'll capture the first number, the second number and this bubble. Okay. And then we have to click on swap next, and then we have to put a logic. So we'll use this. Okay. These all elements which we need. Okay. Now we'll take a look at this. So here you see the first element what we have taken is actually the bubble, which is the blue color thing, which is containing both the numbers. So these both numbers are coming as child elements of this. Okay. Now we'll take a look at the properties just to make sure wherever it is taking the numbers, we will move that out. Okay. Why we are going to do that? Because in every iteration or in every comparison, the numbers are going to change. So those are dynamic. So we cannot use that as identification criteria. So here you see 85 it is taking as inner text. So we'll remove this and we'll use the class name as bubble. Okay. Now using class name and tag, we are able to see that the item is unique. Okay. Now we'll move to our first child element, the first number. Okay. Here you see class name is there, inner text is there. So I'll remove inner text and I'll take class name. Okay. Then also I see that the item is not unique. Okay. Same thing, I'll go with the third element and I'll see, okay, it is again taking inner text. So I'll remove this and I'll take the class name. Okay. But even the class name here and here both are same. So in both the child elements, class name is same. So that is not going to work. Okay. Now the next approach what I can take is I can use the parent. Okay. But since the parent is already associated to these and it is not becoming unique, that is not going to work. Okay. Now next thing what I could think is I can use anchor method. Okay. So what I'll do is I will move this section in the anchor control to see if it is getting identified because of that. But as we can see that it is not working out. Okay. So I'll remove this from here. Okay. And in this particular problem statement, we are going to use identify by index. Okay. Now if I click on this and if I click on identify by index, you see for the first child element it is coming as 1 out of 2. So I'll select that and that is becoming unique. Same thing I'll do for the second one. I'll click on this and I'll select the index. Okay. Now in case you're worried that if this index might change, if the bubble changes, I have already checked that out. So if you want, you can click on next and try to scan once the bubble is on any other two numbers and your index is going to work fine. So that part I have already validated. Now just we are going to work with this module. So instead of these numbers, I can write it so that it displays the correct thing. So I'll just write it as bubble and I'll write this as number 1. Okay, I'll write this as num2. Okay, so we are almost good with our module. We'll save this. Just one more thing I wanted to check here is if you will take a look at these other elements as well. So swap, you see ID it is taking as button 1. Instead of this, I think more stable is inner text swap because we don't have any other button with the same name. I have changed that. Same thing in the next I'll take the inner text as next and I'll remove the ID. In the keep sorting section, I want you to notice that the inner text says keep sorting. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just copy this exact text and I'll tell you why we are doing that. We are going to use this later. Okay, and it is taking ID and tag. So we are not going to use this inner text because that is what we are going to use as a identification criteria. Okay, so our module is saved. Now I will quickly move this module to my test cases section. Okay, and I'll call this test case as bubble sort. So let me rename this and we will call it as bubble sort. Okay, now we'll get started with building our logic. Okay, now first thing is we will see this keep sorting button until the numbers are sorted is the first statement. Okay, so why I have captured that keep sorting inner text value is because once this gets completed, this will display something else. Okay, but this button is going to be visible. Okay, so if I use a conditional statement in which I say that this particular element is visible or not, that is not going to work. I'll showcase you in a second. So that is the first logic we are going to use. Keep sorting button is displayed until the numbers are sorted. So I'll keep this right now just because we have to use it again. So I can just copy this, but our actual test case is going to get started from here. So I'll use a while statement. Okay, and I will use this and I'll put it in the condition section. Okay, now first thing what I'm going to mention is until keep sorting is displayed. Okay, and here in this keep sorting, I will do a action mode verify and I will put the value here. Okay, now instead of putting visible is equal to true, I am going to use inner text, because if the text changes at a later point in time, once the sorting is done, our conditional statement is going to work perfectly fine. Okay, so our condition is done. Now we have to build the actual logic. So we will go into the loop. Okay, now first thing what we have to do is we have to capture both the numbers inside the bubble. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll copy this and I'll paste it in this loop, and here I'll mention first that capture both numbers inside the bubble. Okay, I'm going to show you a very interesting setup in TOSCA in which you can see that how your flow is there, in case you're not aware about that. So do stay along. Okay, so here you see that num1 and num2 is there and we want to buffer both the values. Okay, so I'll just put the action mode buffer here. Okay, for both of these, and what we have kept the name num1 and num2, and since we have given it there, it is taking the same thing, so we are good with this. Okay, now I'm going to show you all the problems step by step and how to resolve those and what is the reasoning behind that. So it may take a little bit longer, but that will clear your concepts from end to end. Okay, now I'll just quickly run this and see if it is actually capturing my numbers or not. Okay, so if I click on run in Scratchbook and let me load my application. Okay, so num1 should take 8 and num2 should take 5, but let's see how this turns out. Okay, so we have to wait for the execution to get finished to see that. Okay, so our execution is failing. I wanted to showcase you that, so that's why I did not do that changes, but let me show you this. So if I go into my Scratchbook, okay, and here you see I'm getting an error saying container has no default property to read from. Okay, now when you get these kind of errors, what happens is ideally there's a default property assigned to it, but just in case it is not there, you have to explicitly call it out. Okay, or you can call any property which is existing for this module attribute. Okay, now we saw when we were making it unique that these elements were containing inner text and inner HTML, and in both of those the actual numbers were getting captured. Okay, so instead of just assigning it directly, what I can do is I can click here and I can use inner text. Okay, I can use inner HTML as well, or for that matter any property which is capturing the actual numbers. Okay, so now if I run this, it is going to work fine. Now it is going to capture both the numbers correctly, but before proceeding we'll just validate that if it is actually doing the same or not. We'll just wait for 5 more seconds and that should work it. Yeah, okay, so our execution is finished. Now let's take a look at the Scratchbook and let me maximize this. So num1 is set to 8 and num2 is set to 5. Okay, so we are good. So till now we have done the first two steps. Okay, now we'll move to the third step. If num1 is greater than num2, okay, then click on swap and then click on next. Okay, if num1 is less than num2, then just click on next. So in both of these steps, you see click next is a common operation. Okay, so instead of using a else condition, we can put next out of the if condition. Okay, I'll showcase you that, but just in case you want to use else, you can use that as well. So anything is fine. It's just that to reduce the number of logical statements, if you can manage that in your script. Okay, so here I will put that if statement, and I'll put my first condition. Now first condition is num1 is greater than num2. Okay, so in order to compare two numbers in case of TOSCA, we have a inbuilt module which is called as T-box evaluation tool. Just in case you're not aware, you can just search for that, and I'm going to use this. Okay, and I'm going to put the expression. Now what buffer names I have used, I have to use exactly those buffer names. So I'll put curly brackets b num1 curly brackets less than curly brackets b num2 close curly brackets. Okay, now based on this conditional statement, my then statement is going to get performed. So what we are saying is, if my number is greater than, click on swap. So I will just change this. Okay, instead of less than, I'll put greater than. Okay, so I have to click on swap and then click on next. Okay, so first what we'll do is we will copy this. Okay, and I am going to put that in the then statement, and I'm going to call it out click on swap. Okay, and here I will pass a click statement. You can pass a x as well, just for us to see that I'm passing click here. Okay, and then after clicking on swap, I have to click on next. Okay, now one thing you see, that if this statement is happening, then also I have to click on next. If the other else scenario is happening, then also I have to click on next. So how we can do is, we can give the next statement after this, or maybe right here, and then we can create a else statement. uh, Otherwise what we can do is, out of this loop, so every comparison, it is going to come out of this if loop, right? So what I can do is, I can put that statement outside. Okay, so here I'll do click on next. Okay, so that we have to perform the next operation just once. Okay, now okay, so now what we have done is, we have taken care of both, because both the time next is going to get clicked, so that is out of this if condition, and swap thing is inside this. Okay, now our logic is almost completed in terms of approaching our problem statement. Okay, now we'll run this, we'll see what other problems we are running into, and we'll solve those things. But before that, just to understand this thing better, which I was talking about, you can always use control flow diagrams. Okay, in TOSCA. Now I see this particular feature is a way lot underutilized, so I just want, so in the control flow diagram, we can easily monitor if we have logical statements or groupings like that, just to understand if our logic is right. Now if you mention the details in the test tips correctly, then it is going to give you more idea. So that's why here you see the conditional statement until keep sorting is displayed and things like that. So here we are capturing, we are evaluating number one is greater than number two or not. I should have renamed this as well, and based on this, you see the next and the swap operations are happening. Okay, so let's run this and see if it is working fine, or if we are running into any issues. Okay, so my application is up and I will run this. Okay, now one thing, one issue which we can think of it before running is that the number of iterations are going to be more here. Okay, because you see there are 9 numbers, so 8 comparisons in one iteration, and then similarly 8 comparisons in another iteration, and things like that. So by default TOSCA gives 30 iterations for any loop. Okay, so we have to change that. And second issue what we are seeing is, our screen is fluctuating. Okay, so we are going to deal with both the problems uh, on how to resolve it. Okay, now this is going to take some time, so I would just like to call out, said that do like, share and subscribe, and mention your comments as well. It really helps my channel grow up and bring you more content like this. So we'll just wait for this to get completed. It will take all the iterations, and in that much amount of iterations obviously it is not going to get completed. So we'll wait for this. And just to update, I have all the other obstacles as well on my channel, so do take a look at that. So here if you see, first thing we are getting is the maximum number of iterations 30 was exceeded. Okay, so we'll put our problem statements here. One thing is screen is fluctuating, and second is our number of repetitions needs to be more. Okay, okay. So first thing is screen is fluctuating, and why that is happening is because you see on my screen the browser is like this. It is trying to work with these numbers and then it is trying to click these buttons. So that's why it is going up and down, up and down. So what we'll do is we can use a parameter to fix this. So this is our inbuilt module, and we will jump to this. Okay. Now whichever element interaction it is happening, we can add a property called scrolling behavior. You might have used this property to move it to a desired location, but in this particular condition we are going to use it to stop that thing happening. So in case of scrolling behavior we are going to write it as none. Make sure when you're right clicking and adding that it is steering parameter. Okay, and I'll just copy this and I'll paste with whatever numbers or whatever interactions are happening. So I'll paste it in number 1, number 2, I will paste it in this swap and next, and that should solve our problem statement, the first problem statement which we are having, the screen is fluctuating. Okay, now second is the number of repetitions. So since it is doing 8 comparisons and it will run for 8 more times, so 64, what we can do is instead of going into the mathematical logic we can give some higher number to this. Okay, so whenever we are doing a conditional statement, I'll show you. So if you click on this left hand side, you will see this thing called maximum repetitions. Okay, you can just click on this and change it. So just for the maximum number we'll give it 100 here. We will not go into actual mathematical calculation here. Okay, now our logic is built, everything is good. We'll click on try again and we will run this and we'll see if it is working fine or not. Okay, so I'll just run this thing from here, and in first iteration of comparison the largest number should come on the rightmost side, and then the second largest number, and then the third largest number, like that. Okay, so let the operation get performed. What I am going to do here is I am going to, so see the first iteration 9 number is moved on the right hand side. Okay, I'm going to put this code in case you want to download and you want to try it out. So I have to give some location, so I'll put that in the link section in case you want to download it. Just remember I'm not going to put the initial steps of launching and all, so it is going to be in the exact, like you need to keep this page open to make it work. So see, our screen fluctuation problem is also resolved and our comparisons are also happening. Okay, and we have given 100. Let's see if that works out or we run into an issue. So 3 iterations have happened. 7, 8, 9 is on the rightmost side. Okay, now similarly all the other iterations are going to happen. In the interest of making the video not so long, I will skip this comparison part to a little bit less. And see, our problem statement is resolved. Okay, now here you see the text has been changed to perfect, you did it. So we'll just take a look at the last repetition, what has happened. So see, in 37 iterations it has got completed, and if you take a look at the last iteration here, now keep sorting is not getting displayed. Instead of that, perfect, you did it is getting displayed. So that's why we have not used visible is equal to true. Thank you very much for watching this video, and do like, share and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye bye.